Hey everyone, this is Matt. In today's video, I have for you a Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, Link Festival, Altergeist deck profile. That's right. So one of the decks I did play in the Link Festival is Altergeist. Altergeist is significantly weaker in the Link Festival than outside of it because outside the Link Festival, you can run Skill Drain, we can run Secret Village, we can run Rivalry, but unfortunately, all those cards are banned in the Link Festival, so we cannot run those. So yeah, we have a lot of interesting considerations for playing Altergeist. So this is basically what I ended up deciding on after play testing a lot, right, with Altergeist. So let's start off with the Altergeist core cards in the main deck. So Altergeist is a control deck, and as a control deck, we're gonna see a lot of the similar beats that you've seen in my previous deck profiles. A lot of 2-of ratios, not so many hand traps, and a lot of just staples, right? So let's start with 2 multi-faker, because it's limited to 2. This card is absolutely broken, and it's what makes Altergeist a viable deck. Basically, this card says, if you activate a trap card, except during the damage step, so it says card, not effect, so you have to flip a card from face down to face up. You can special summon this card from your hand, so on either player's turn. If this card is special summon, you can special summon one Altergeist monster in deck in defense position except multi-faker. You cannot special summon monsters to turn your activate effect except Altergeist monsters. So, important caveat there. So, usually, you'll use this card on your opponent's turn, summon it to your field, activate its on-field effect to search, to special summon from your deck, Altergeist Silquicious, which we're going to play 2 of. So let's put it right here. Silquicious, this is your best. This is like your boss monster, honestly. This says, quick effect. Return another Altergeist card you control to the hand, then target a card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. If this card is sent from field to the graveyard, you can target Altergeist trapped in graveyard, add to your hand. So, basically, this bounces your opponent's cards, and bounces your cards back into your hand. So, it's really good. I'd say 2 of. So, I think most people agree that Silquicious is a 2 of. So, yeah, you should be playing 2. Next. 1 copy of Altergeist Kunkeri. This is not very controversial. Most Altergeist players play 1 copy of this card. It's a level 5, unfortunately, but its effect is when an opponent's monster declares an attack, if you control an Altergeist card, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, negate the attack. If this card is special summon, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, negate its effects of that card while this and this monster are on the field. So basically, this stops your opponent from swinging into you, and negates one of their monster effects. So, man, pretty good 1 of. You can search into this via the Altergeist traps, which I'll get into. But yeah, I think it's not controversial to play 2 of these. Alright, my next ratios are going to be slightly controversial. 2 copies of Meliseek, 2 copies of Marionetter. Now, some will argue that you should play 3 copies of Marionetter, 3 copies of Meliseek. However, this is the same logic and deck building call, right? When building a control deck, I like 2 of ratios because I don't want to see more than 1 in my opening hand. If I see 2 Marionetters in my opening hand, 1 of them's a brick. Same with Meliseek, right? I'd rather just see 1 if I see any at all, right? So let's talk Marionetter. So Marionetter says, when this card is normal summon, send an Altergeist trap from your deck to your spell trap zone, so it cannot be ashed. Then it has another effect on the field. You can target an Altergeist card you control 1 Altergeist monster in the graveyard, send that card on the field to the graveyard, and then special summon that monster from your graveyard. So basically, this card can tag out with one of the Altergeist monsters in the graveyard. Most of the time, it'll tag out onto Silquicious. Sometimes you'll tag out onto Multi-Faker, which will immediately proc Multi-Faker's summon effect. Sometimes you'll swap out into Meliseek. But most of the time, you summon this, you set a trap from your deck, you prioritize Protocol, followed by Manifestation, and then you tag this out for a monster in your graveyard. And then Meliseek, this card is your second boss monster. Your first boss monster is Silquicious. The second boss monster is this monster, even though it's a 500 attacker. That's hilarious. This card reads, this card can attack directly. It's a level 1. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, send it to the graveyard. Note, it does not say destroy, so you can out Salmon Great cards without caring about their Balinks, right? If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add an Altergeist monster from your deck to your hand, except Meliseek. So a hard once per turn effect. So what you do is, if you're going first, you summon normal Meliseek, you link into Linkuriboh, and you immediately get to search. And you'll search Multi-Faker most of the time, and then you'll set your back row. And then on your opponent's turn, you'll flip a back row, Multi-Faker will come out, bring out Silquicious, and then you have your interruptions, right? So Meliseek is your starter, basically. So yeah, unfortunately we are playing 2 of, although some Altergeist players, some people say Meliseek and Marionette are mandatory 3 of. I've had too many problems, like when I was playing this Altergeist deck in the Link Festival, where I was running 3 Metal Seek and 3 Marionetter, which is a more standard ratio, and I was just seeing way too many of them in my opening hand, and like not enough traps. You need to see back row in this deck, otherwise you can't do much, right? Alright, other Altergeist core, 1 copy of Hexia, 1 copy of Kadolga, 1 copy of Prime Banshee. Some people like to run 3 Hexia, but I think 1's enough. I don't think you'll ever see more than 1. And also, this card can be returned via Marionetter, right? And it can be bounced back into your extra deck via Silk Wishes. So I think 1 copy is enough. So Hexia is the best one. It reads to link to 2 Altergeist monsters. Gains attack equal to the original attack of each Altergeist monster points to, so you can get this over 3k easily. When a Spell Trapper effect is activated, you contribute 1 Altergeist monster's points to, negate the activation, destroy that card. If this card is sent from field graveyard, you can add an Altergeist card from your deck to your hand. Any card, right? Trap, monster, doesn't matter. So, really good. This helps you attack over monster, helps you negate your opponent's spell traps, and it helps you search your cards if it goes to the graveyard. So, Kadolga. Some Altergeist players don't bother with this. I think it's okay to have. Oh, actually, wait. I ended up cutting this. Never mind. Ignore that. I'm not playing Kadolga. Prime Banshee. Link 3. 2 or more Altergeist. This says, during your main phase, quick effect. Tribute 1 other Altergeist monster. Special summon Altergeist monster from deck to zone this card points to. If this card is sent from field graveyard, target Altergeist card in graveyard, add it to your hand. So this helps you recycle, and it's a 2100, and you can basically, like, it's another way of getting out multi-figure, right? Most of the time, I didn't even bother bringing this up. Alright, other Altergeist core cards. 2 copies of Manifestation, 2 copies of Protocol, 3 copies of Spoofing. Spoofing is not hard once per turn. Spoofing is not hard once per turn. This is your best trap in your deck. This is amazing. It's not an Altergeist card by name, but it literally searches you any Altergeist card of monsters, right? So this card is a quick effect, continuous trap, says, once per turn, shuffle Altergeist cards from your hand or face up from your field main deck, add Altergeist monster from your deck to your hand. This card is really amazing because it allows you to dodge card effects. So if they target one of your cards, let's say they imperm, you use Sequicious, they imperm you, or attempt to imperm Sequicious, change personal smoothing, get Sequicious off the board, or whatever. Sequicious effect will still go through, right? Their imperm will fizzle. Effect Veiler will fizzle. Marine Cess Wave, a really annoying fucking card, will fizzle, right? A lot of cards in this format target, so if you can just personal spoofing it away, you can just get a search, right? 2 copies of Protocol. This card says, it's a hard once per turn, so that's why I only run 1 of these. Honestly, the most important part of this card, in my opinion, is the first sentence right here. The activation effects of Altergeist cards activated on your field cannot be negated. That means if you have an Altergeist monster on your field, they can't imperm, or they can do nothing. Veiler does nothing. Ash does nothing. Marine Cess Wave does nothing. So this will literally make all your monster effects go through no matter what. Call by does nothing. It's really amazing. And then the cherry on top, the second effect of this says, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can send another face-up Altergeist card you control to graveyard and negate the activation if you destroy it. So basically, if you open Marionetter, you're going first. Normal Marionetter. Marionetter activates. Sets Protocol from the deck. And now you immediately have a monster negate on your opponent's turn. Just 1 card got you that. Got you 1 negate, right? Not even counting the other cards you may have on your hand. Altergeist Manifestation. Another hard once per turn. It's 2 of. Target an Altergeist monster in graveyard. Special summon attack position. If you do, equip with this card. When this card leaves the field, destroy that monster. You can manage this card from the graveyard. Target an Altergeist trap in your graveyard. Add to your hand. You can use this effect once per turn. So, Manifestation is good, but it's not so good that it would be a 3 of. It's searchable off Marionetter. One thing that's hilarious about this card. 2 things that are hilarious. So, let's say you have a Sequicious in your graveyard and you have this in your hand. You set this card on your opponent's turn. You flip this card and you special summon Sequicious. Sequicious is now on the field equipped with Manifestation, which is a face-up Altergeist card. Sequicious has a quick effect that says send another Altergeist card you control to the hand, right? So on their turn, you use Sequicious to bounce Manifestation back into your hand, to bounce one of your opponent's cards. Because you're bouncing the Manifestation that's equipped to Sequicious back into your hand, Sequicious pops, goes to the graveyard. That means they can't imperm. They can't Marine Cess Wave. They literally can't target it because it immediately goes to the graveyard, right? And then on your turn, you set Manifestation again, and then Sequicious is still in your graveyard, and now you can do that again. You're on your opponent's turn. Use Manifestation. Revive Sequicious. Sequicious bounce Manifestation and bounce one of your opponent's monsters. Loop infinitely, right? Also helps out Sequicious, when it hits the graveyard, can return an Altergeist trap. So if they outed your protocol and it's in the graveyard, you can literally just bring it back every turn, right? So really good loop. Another thing you can do with protocol, or sorry, with Manifestation and personal spoofing. So one thing you can do, and you saw this in my Adventures of series, right? You flip Manifestation, and you target an Altergeist monster in my graveyard. No, this card is not a continuous trap. It's a regular trap, so it does not have to stay on the field for its effect to resolve. So Chainlink 1 Manifestation, target one of your Altergeists. Chainlink 2 personal spoofing. Send Manifestation into your deck to search a card. Manifestation will still resolve, but it will not equip to the monster. So that means that monster is not bound by it being equipped to Manifestation, and will not leave the field if it leaves the field. So that's another cool trick that you can do with spoofing. So very good. Yeah, spoofing is just amazing. Like, if spoofing had the word Altergeist in its name, it would be the most broken card in the game, and Altergeist would be like tier 1. Like, it's like they cannot make this card searchable because it's way too good. Technically, this card can be Ash, but it's stupid to Ash this card. It's continuous trap. You can use it every turn, and you should use it every turn if you can. Literally just tag out your Altergeist monsters. Like, alright, on your opponent's turn, you use Multi-Faker and Sequicious to bounce one of their cards. On your turn, you tag out Sequicious or Multi-Faker, and you grab Melisseek. Melisseek will summon, attack one of their directly, send one of their cards to the graveyard, right? And then rinse and repeat. On their turn, take out Melisseek, put in Multi-Faker or whatever. Like, you can just literally tag out your monsters at willy-nilly, right? So yeah, so this is the Altergeist core. And one other core card I'll say you have to have is Linkuriboh, because you have Melisseek, which is level 1. You want to send it to the graveyard via Linkuriboh, so you get a search. And Linkuriboh can recycle itself, so you only need 1. So this is the Altergeist core. Now we're going to get into cards I consider to be core, simply because this is a control deck. So let's start with our Solemn cards. 3 copies of Solemn Strike, 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. That's right, I'm playing Solemn Judgment this deck. The reason is because A, pot cards are banned, so it's harder to get into Lord of Heavenly Prison. Speaking of Lord of the Heavenly Prison. So 3 copies of Lord of Heavenly Prison to protect back row, and when it hits the field, it searches a card. 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. So you have 6 cards that protect your back row. No pot cards to draw into them, but hopefully you draw at least one of them. 3 copies of Solemn Strike. That should just go without saying. It literally negates their summons. They summon Access Code, negate. They summon Arrival Cyber's Addition, negate. They summon Marine Cess, Argonaut, or Bubble Reef using Crystal Heart as material, negate. Like, this card is just amazing in this format. They summon Sunlight Wolf, negate, right? So yeah, mandatory 3 of. So these are the mandatory cards, okay? Other mandatory core cards that I would say, I guess nothing else is mandatory. Everything else I'm going to show from here on is optional, right? So I like to run Torrential Tribute, 3 of. It's really good in this format because, you know, they need bodies to make Link monsters, and Torrential Tribute removes bodies. Yes, this affects your monsters, but if you have personal spoofing, they summon a monster, you can literally activate Torrential Tribute and then chain personal spoofing to get your monster off the field, back into your deck, and then search another monster. So Torrential Tribute and personal spoofing synergize amazingly well as a result. By the way, one quick caveat I forgot to mention about Lord of Heavenly Prison. So Lord of Heavenly Prison summons itself onto the field, usually on your opponent's turn, sets a card from the deck. Keep in mind that Multi-Faker says you cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect except Altergeist monsters. So that means the same turn you summon Multi-Faker, you cannot summon Lord, and vice versa. So that is very important to keep in mind, because if you're planning to use Lord, do not use Multi-Faker and vice versa. Okay. Next, other cards that I really like in this deck. I like 2 copies of Storming Mirror Force. Storming Mirror Force is fun because, again, Altergeist doesn't have very many good ways to out like really tall boss monsters, and this is a card that doesn't destroy; it just bounces. Right, all attack position monsters. Guess what? Link monsters are all in attack position. So I've been having a lot of fun with this card. You You can also run Get Out if you prefer, because Get Out is typically live in this deck, because in this format, because there's a lot of multiple link monsters, right? All right, the final slots. I'm actually running 3 copies of Gamma Seal, the kaiju, the Sea Turtle Kaiju. The reason for this is because if you're going second against some decks like Marine Cess, Agnister, or whatever, it is near impossible for Altergeist to out the Arrival Agnister. So we have an out right here. It's called Gamma Seal. You just tribute it away. Same with if they make a Marine Cess monster using Crystal Heart, that means it becomes unaffected by card effects. So one way you can out it is just Gamma Seal, right? Done. If you're in a Sky Striker matchup, as you may have seen in my Adventures of series, Sky Striker hard loses to Kaiju. You tribute their Sky Striker monster. They put a Kaiju on their field. They can't use Sky Striker spells. Ray will not trigger. They're just screwed, right? They're completely screwed. So I think it's very important to have a Kaiju as Altergeist. So guess what, folks? You know what's great about Kaijus? When you bounce them, they go to your hand. So if you bounce them with Sequentious, it goes back to your hand. You can Kaiju again. If you bounce them with Storming Mirror Force, it goes to your hand. You can Kaiju again. So yeah, a lot of synergy with what we have right here. So I'm running 2 copies of Maxi, 3 copies of Ghost Reaper, 2 copies of Called by the Grave. So there's a lot of hand traps in this format, and Altergeist, unfortunately, unlike Eldritch, is way more hurt by hand traps than most control decks, because you need these effects to go off, and if you don't have protocol to protect them, they're not going to go off. So nothing is more blue ballsy than summoning Multi-Faker on your opponent's turn, attempt to special summon Sequentious from your deck, and then they ash you. So yeah, Called by the Grave, pretty important, I think. Maxi, just so you can draw, right? So I'm running 2 of ratios of Maxi, similar to what I did in my old Eldritch profile. 3 copies of Ghost Reaper, because my extra deck is going to be full of Ghost Reaper targets. And I feel like Ghost Reaper is a little bit more important than Maxi, because Maxi is more likely to just do nothing, because they have Ash, probably. Whereas Ghost Reaper more likely to do something. And if you banish an important boss monster, or like important link climbing monster that they need, they might just scoop, or like they won't be able to play. So I put this out of 3 of. So this is my 40 card deck. Note, it's half monsters and half spell traps, so a lot less control-y than some other. But then again, we don't have floodgates, right? We don't have Secret Village, we don't have Rivalry, we don't have Skill Drain. So unfortunately, this is what I have to work with. Extra decks. So these are the 3 Altergeist cards for extra decks. So I'm just gonna fill this extra deck with a bunch of Winter Cherries targets. Your mileage may vary, but Tri-Brigade for sure. The Ominous Omen, great target. Shizuku, Sky Striker, great target. Double Helix, a lot of spirals out there, great target. Sunlight Wolf, stop that Salad Player. Coral Anemone, it's the best extender in the Marine Cess deck. Access Code Talker. Sometimes you might want to make access code, but also you want to banish access code, right? How do you make access code? Well, you can link climb via a Hexia and or Prim Banshee, right? So in one of my videos, I do make access code myself, but you could also banish their copies of access code. All right, what's next? 1 copy of Evil Twin Lilla. I mentioned this in my Flube deck, but this is the best of the Link 2 for Evil Twins. It makes it really hard for them to do anything against you, and without this, it's a lot harder for them to make their Link 4s. So yeah, they kind of need this, like, badly. 1 copy of Dark Infant Agnister. So if you don't have the Kaiju, maybe you can prevent them from building the board by just banishing Dark Infant. Now, if you own the Arrival Cybers, so the Arrival Cybers Agnister, I don't because this is UR. If you own this, feel free to put this in instead of Dark Infant. But if you take out Dark Infant, they basically can't play. It's like near impossible for them to do anything. All right, what else? Striker Dragon. I see a lot of Dragon Links. They turbo Borland. It's really good. Take out Striker Dragon. You don't have to do a Borland. Electromite. Pendulum decks. This is like their main boss Link monster. Lots of extenders. Lots of pendulum summoning capabilities for them. Just banish it, and then they won't be able to do anything. What's next? I think I also have Splash Mage. Just a generic good link climbing monster. Feel free to replace it with something else. If you want, you can put in like the Decode Talker Heat Soul if you really want. and 1 copy of Crusadia Magius. This is the Link 1 Crusadia. If you don't want to get OTK, if you don't want Crusadia to be able to link climb or play, get rid of this. Because not only does this allow them to special summon to a zone that it points to, but also this searches a Crusadia monster, so it gets them that extra body that they even need of their choice. So that's my extra deck and my full deck. Feel free to swap out these cards, but I think 1 Link Kuriboh, 1 Hexia, and 1 Primanchi are pretty much like, that's all you need for Altergeist. Some people like to run more than 1 Hexia. You don't need to. It's recyclable. Same with Link Kuriboh. And Primanchi honestly doesn't come up that often. So yeah. So I like this profile. I did used to have Ice Dragon's Prison, but Ice Dragon's Prison conflicts with Multifaker. You cannot Multifaker the same turn you Ice Dragons, pretty much. So I cut that. Get Out is fun. But I ended up cutting that. I think I had more fun with Storming Mirror Force, and Call By was just a more useful card. I cut Trap Tricks just because I don't have... So Trap Tricks used to be able to go into Manifestation sometimes, or Torrential, but I just didn't have the room for it. I'd rather have the Kaijus and the hand trap, and a couple of these stronger hand traps, because they're way higher impact, right? Than like... Lord of the Heavenly Prison. What do you search off Lord of the Heavenly Prison? So... if you summon it to the field, what spell trap do you search? So you can either search Personal Spoofing, or you can search Manifestation. How so? Or you can search Protocol. So Lord banishes at the end of the end phase, right? After the turn after you activate this, whatever trap or spell trap you searched that's set to your field banishes, right? So typically you don't want to search continuous spell traps. However, there's a small exception to this rule. Well, first of all, Personal Spoofing is such a good card. Just 1 usage out of this card can just literally just change the entire flow of the duel. Like, it's so good. I don't even mind that I use it once and banish it. It's just that good, right? Manifestation. Sometimes you want to search this. Maybe you have a Silquicious in the graveyard, and then you can use that loop that I mentioned. Revive Silquicious. Silquicious will bounce Manifestation, and then bounce one of their monsters. Or you can search Protocol, because... if you have access to Silquicious, Silquicious can literally bounce this card back into your hand, and then you can reset it so it will not banish. So one way to stop Manifestation or Protocol from banishing off of the effect of Lord of Heavenly Prison is literally bounce it back to your hand with Silquicious. So yeah, so obviously we can't search pot cards because they're all banned. But yeah, I thought that this was a solid deck. I was able to help get to Diamond with this deck, and I think you will too. I still didn't like this deck as much as the Flu deck, simply because not having access to a lot of those floodgates really makes this a lot more tedious of a grind game against a lot of opposing decks. And I just said, screw it, I'm just going to play Flu, because Flu is more like cut and dry, like win immediately or lose immediately, right, kind of deck. Whereas this is more of a grind game. But yeah, my opinion, yeah, Altergeist is really the only playable control deck. Other control decks you can try is the Amazement deck. I do own most of the Amazement cards except the main boss monster, Amazement Administrator, Arlecchino. I would say you could probably give the Amazement deck a try, but I don't have enough URs to make this monster. I still feel like this might still be weaker than Altergeist though. Other control decks, actually, there are a couple floodgates that have not been banned. Imperial Iron Wall is available, so you can technically run this, but I don't. Because going second, it's a lot worse, right? In this format. And then another floodgate that's available is lose 1 turn, but which basically negates all your opponent's monsters the turn they're summoned. But it sucks going second. Does like almost nothing. So I tried playing around with them, but I didn't really get it to work. Going second, they were just much worse. It's like going second, I'd rather have this Kaiju. Like, get rid of their freaking boss monster. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially like in the, what is it? Marine Cess, really important to get rid of their boss monster. Sunlight Wolf in the, a lot of their Salamangreat traps require you to have a Salamangreat monster on the field, or Link monster. If you Kaiju it away, you just shut down their back row. Like, so yeah, I like Kaijus in this deck. I will not play Kaiju in the outside of this festival in Altergeist. I'd probably replace most of these hand traps with floodgates, pots and floodgates, basically. So, am I ever gonna make a Altergeist profile outside of the Link Festival? Maybe. I don't have that much fun with this deck. It's not as interesting as other control decks. Not as fun as Subterra. Not as fun as Eldritch. So probably not. But I don't know. maybe with enough popular demand, I might. So, anyway, that's my Altergeist Link Festival deck profile. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. See you in the next video. Peace.